All the way from Phoenix, Arizona, Portland, Oregon, and Dallas, Texas. It's the Bros Before Elbows Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome to the Bros Before Elbows Pro Wrestling Podcast. We got a two-man crew happening today, or tonight, I should say. I am here with Theron T-Monies, all the way from Dallas, myself from PDX, of course, one of your hosts, Anthony. We're going to talk about some NXT TakeOver Fallout. I had the opportunity to go with a good buddy, Andrew, and he brought some other homies with him too, which was super fun. And I'm sure we'll probably banter about some other stuff. But welcome to the show, Theron. What's up?
Yo, what's going on, party people? What's up, Ant? Glad to be back after a small hiatus, I think. Yeah, man, TakeOver was sick, and you were there live. What's it like being there at the live TakeOver? It's like a standalone TakeOver. This isn't a TakeOver with like a pay-per-view by the WWE, I guess, other brands. So like, how was that, man? Yeah,
this was kind of its own thing, separate from, attached to, as you just mentioned, another pay-per-view that's going on. It was fun, man. I do have to admit, I was pretty hungover, and I couldn't really, I couldn't really get into it as much as I wanted to. One, my voice was dead from karaoke the night before, and then two, I was pretty hungover. So, I got to the arena. It was at the Moda Center, and just like any other wrestling event, they put the ring in the middle, of course, and then they have like the main section, the camera side section, which is filled.
Where'd you go?
Oh, what? Can you hear me?
Did you come back?
Uh-oh. Did I disappear?
Yeah, now you're back.
Oh man, okay, dang. Weird. Skyping out. No, it was fun, man. We had seats in the corner of the let's see, we were behind the announce table and to the right of that. So like that right corner. So if the ring entrance was north, we were obviously south of that, like southeast of the ring. But we could see pretty much, the entrances. We had good seats. We had a definitely an excellent view. Pretty fairly close up. But nonetheless, man, it was loud. The crowd was really into it, which was fun. Some of my buddies that were there had never been to a live pro wrestling event, especially a WWE one. And so, they really took it in. I did make a comment to a buddy who, watches WWE or pro wrestling on the regular. And I said, what's really cool about going to a live event is you don't have the commentary. Yep. So when you watch the matches, you watch them from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And it really makes you focus on the storytelling between, each of the wrestlers. And so when I said that, my buddy turned and was like, wow, I never thought about that. A lot of the, back and forth and a lot of the connection, I feel truly is missed when you watch it on TV, because you can like be distracted by other things. You're just listening to the commentary. Like there's something always going on. And what was nice about the, being there live is you really do appreciate the back and forth. You really do appreciate, who's got the upper hand and for how long, and, how the opponent comes back. It was cool to see a lot of people like clapping in between cool sequences. Like I caught myself doing that a lot. Like I wouldn't ever do that sitting down, watching it on TV, clapping, in between a good sequence, but live, it's like you couldn't help but do that. And then of course, anytime there was a big spot where you think there'd be the 3 count, people were getting up out of their seats. And it was, man, people were just having a blast with it. So my experience was, I got up and I was, I didn't get out of bed until like noon. And I had to be at the stadium at like, I think it started at 3:30. So my buddy said, "Hey, let's meet up for drinks beforehand." So I was like, "Yeah, cool. I'll walk to the train." and I'll take the Max down, and that's the name of the train is the Max. I'll take the Max down, and I'll just meet you there, and we'll grab a brew. I was like, I can just walk to the train, dude. It won't take me long. It's probably like a 10-15 minute walk. So I started walking, and I was like, oh my God, this is really far away.
Oh,
so it took me like 30 minutes, 35 minutes just to get to the train, and then the actual train ride was only like 20 minutes. So needless to say, I got there at 3. Slow down. I got to the stadium at 3:00. Met my buddy inside. He had sent me the tickets, to my phone or whatnot. And we had good seats. And I sat down and I was like, no, dude, I gotta get something to drink. Like I'm dying. So spent like $15 on a beer. Of course, it's the stadium. Yeah. And at some point, I was like, I gotta get something to eat. But I was like, I don't want to like miss the pre-show. And apparently everybody hates Sam Roberts. And
Sam Roberts, is he an announcer, right?
I guess so. Yeah, he's like some curly-headed dude with a beard, and like everybody hates him.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, wow. Like every time he talked, people would boo, and then Mansoor was there, and everybody loved Mansoor. So every time he spoke, everybody cheered and loved him. So that was pretty interesting. But at that point, I totally should have left and got pizza. But that was also the longest line for pizza because everybody else didn't want to be there for Sam Roberts. So, I'm watching the match. We're watching the matches. The first match was the Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic match. And that was awesome. That was cool, man. Seeing these big dudes in person, flying off the top ropes and like doing Hurricane Ranas and just doing the craziest moves off the top. That was really something special. And I thought Dominik Dijakovic killed it in the match. Of course, Keith Lee still retained. Second match was, if I'm not mistaken, the Tegan Knox match.
Dakota Kai and the blood feud with so I just, not to cut you off.
Oh, no, please.
I was loving that opening match, the Hoss fight, I call it. Keith Lee, 300-pound dude that does moonsaults off of like the second rope or however, just phenomenal athleticism nowadays. It's so cool to see how the big man has changed in wrestling. Like, because, big man has changed in like basketball, but big man has changed in wrestling. Like back in the day, big man didn't do what Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic are doing. Like there's a spot where guys like Randy Orton's like my size. He's like 6'3". He might be taller than me. Like when he was in OVW, he used to do like stuff off the top rope and they told him he shouldn't do it. I don't know if it was injury or just him being big, but nowadays, like you see the big guys doing it. But then, the blood feud, which ended with an interruption from, and you were watching this with no commentary. So I don't know if you even know who the woman was. Her name is, oh crap, I don't remember her name, but she's some wrestler that was in the Mae Young Classic that just like shows up and saves a day. And I'm like, what were you thinking seeing that? Did you even know who that was? The lady that the
So I gotta admit, this is the match I got up and got pizza.
That's right. You didn't care. How do you not care about the blood feud?
Dude, I know, right? And I'm kicking myself because it really was a good match. But I had to make a choice. So I'm watching Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic, and I'm thinking to myself, either A, I'm not going to get anything to eat, and I'm not going to get out of here until like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. 2, I am going to get something to eat. I just don't know when. And all of the matches were stacked. So I feel bad, not to say that I'm not interested in the women's match, because I definitely was, but I had to make a choice to survive and not die. So
that's fair.
So I got up and was like, okay, I'm directly in the middle of this section. So 1, I have anxiety about getting up and pissing everybody else off just to get out. And then 2, I'm not just going to go and like get pizza and then bring it back and then piss everybody else off again, getting them to stand up and whatnot, and potentially drop my pizza and Sprite. So I decided to, I went, the pizza line was super small. I didn't even get merch, by the way. I didn't have any time to get merch. But
No merch.
I didn't even see where the merch stand was. But I got pizza and I had 2 slices of pizza and a Sprite. Spent way too much money on it, but that's just what you do when you're at the stadium. And so I just like devoured this pizza and chugged this Sprite, and then I felt alive. It was amazing. It was like a night and day difference. Sprite brought me back to life. Pizza brought me back to life. And as soon as I got back to the seats, like all I could see was just weapons strewn everywhere, and then the match was over.
Yeah.
And so I have no idea what the heck happened.
They tried to kill each other. They were killing each other. Tegan was, who's the face, was kind of going dark, and they were playing that up. And then it ended with the run-in from this new ally for Dakota Kai. I'm sure they'll explain the ally tonight, probably on NXT. But yeah, man, that match, I guess, of all the matches, if you had to pick one where you went and got your popcorn or your pizza or your hot dog, I guess that would have been it. Because, I mean, you don't want to miss anything else. So, sorry, Teagues.
I know. And I'll definitely wind up watching it again, just because, again, that takeover was fantastic. But that was the only match that I missed. Other than that, I was alive and trying to scream as best as I could during the other matches. But overall, man, again, like if you haven't been to a live WWE event or even just a live wrestling match, I highly encourage you go. It gives you a new perspective on how to watch the matches, especially knowing that there's no commentary in the background. Like you have to focus on the back and forth. You only get one camera angle unless you're watching the Jumbotron. Mm-hmm. But, you just see it differently. And so I thought, again, it was awesome, man. My buddy had a really good time. I had a really good time. And I definitely would go again. It was incredible to see the Broserweights win the titles. Definitely popped for that. I'm a big Undisputed fan, but to see Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne take home the gold, that was a special moment to be there. What was your thoughts on that match?
I was all about it, man. I didn't think that the prophecy would be completely depleted by the end of the night. I thought that, Roger Strong lost the North American title on NXT a couple weeks ago. I was like, there's no way they're going to lose the tag titles, right? Maybe Pete Dunne turns on Matt Riddle or Matt Riddle turns on Pete Dunne. I don't know. Or they just don't win and then they turn on each other after and we get a feud out of those two, which would have been cool. But no, the odd couple really figured it out and won the match. And I was like really happy about it because it's like, they're not there's like such two different styles, two different guys. Like Matt Riddle's like that bro. And then Pete Dunne's like the super serious guy. And now they're the tag champs. I was happy with it. I was definitely happy with it. And it was a really, really good match. Like so good. So many spots, so many kickouts. And then boom, they finally finish it off. So like, I loved it. I give it a 5-star.
Dude, hell yeah. It was, dude, the back and forth was intense. It's always cool to see the hot tag, to like be in the audience waiting for the hot tag. Cause, for a while, like people were just chanting Riddle. And then Pete Dunne was of course getting clobbered. And then when Riddle gets back in the ring, it was incredible, man. So again, I'm a big fan of Undisputed, seeing Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. That was really special to see that. And, it sucks that they lost the gold, but at the same time, like, I think the timing is appropriate. That's one thing I want to say that I really dig about NXT is that the title changes, I feel, happen at more appropriate times than the other brands.
Yeah. That's true. I agree with that. The most recent title change in the other two brands, I believe, would have been the Intercontinental title, right? Like, I mean, that had to happen anyway, but it's kind of like a what now? But with these title changes, which I think that was the only one we saw, like it's like perfect timing. What does Undisputed Era do now? What do the former tag champs do now? What's next for them? Because the prophecy, I think, was supposed to be dripped in gold until, forever. So, yeah, it's cool.
No, for sure. So now it's just Adam Cole that holds the gold for Undisputed. Obviously, Roddy Strong is beefing with Velveteen Dream. And I thought it was kind of cool how maybe I just noticed it more than before, but how the storyline can change so quickly. Like Velveteen was like, this isn't about the North American title. This isn't about, anything but a grudge match, like anything but a classic beef. And same thing. Roddy Strong was like, a month ago, he's like, I'm the man with the gold or whatever, and like he would like the title picture was it, like that North American Championship was it for him. And then obviously, now he's like, that aside, the title aside, I'm not worried about that now. I'm worried about this grudge match. And I thought that was a cool transition to see how quickly they could shift gears and then get you interested in just that feud match, because obviously Undisputed wants to hold the gold, right? Like that's their main thing. But for Roddy to be okay with like, no, this is a grudge match, or this is like a grudge between us, I thought was really cool. So yeah, I'm curious as to what's going to happen now with with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, who they're going to beef with, who they're going to try to put over, or who they're going to beat. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that, and of course to see what happens with the Broserweights, because I really am digging that funny comedy dynamic between Dunn and Riddle. I think that's like a classic old couples, or the Odd Couple or whatever.
Yeah,
type comedy. So I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, it was cool. Velveteen and Roddy are going to tear it up. He's so great, and then Velveteen, just that guy, man. He's come so far since that last Tough Enough they did, and and now this character that's been created, like this blood feud is going to be awesome. They made it personal. Velveteen, I don't know if people caught this, but I caught it. He wore tights with like Roddy Strong's like son and wife painted on the tights. So
no way.
So it's like, yeah, and then the tights read like Marina hit me up or something like, and that's Roddy Strong's wife is Marina Shafir, part of the four horsewomen of UFC. So like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good singles feud, and that's another place that NXT wins where the other brands might not, is like they seem to do really well with keeping people that are wherever. Like, I don't feel like there's like a main event scene, mid-card scene, and I just feel like every scene is important because all the feuds are so good, and these are people that aren't even in title matches, but you're vested into that feud. Whereas the other brands, like, they probably have a bunch of talent that could be doing great, but they have no plans for them. So like, they're not doing anything. You know what I mean? So that's really cool for NXT. I mean, they have a smaller roster, but still, man, they're killing it.
Well, that's what makes it fun about the appropriateness of title changes, is if it does change hands, it goes to somebody that's, formidable, somebody that's, right, can bring prestige to that, to that title and be a good, be a good spokesperson for it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Heel or babyface, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So I'm stoked. Broserweight's winning. Also stoked for, let's see what other match there was. There was a Broserweights. There was Dijakovic. There was Dakota Kai. There was, of course, obviously the Adam Cole. What else was there? I'm drawing a blank. I'm
drawing a blank too. Rhea Ripley. So you got
Ripley.
You got the women's championship. Obviously, now we know for a fact Charlotte Flair is, in fact, accepting the challenge at WrestleMania for the NXT title. So the NXT Women's Championship will be featured on WrestleMania, along with the other two women's championships, which will both be featured on WrestleMania, which is really cool, depending on what they do with the SmackDown title. We'll see. But yeah, man, there's that, and then the Adam Cole thing with Gargano, I guess, assisting Cole and reopening that feud with Ciampa for the fifth time. Do you like that?
That's right. It was the Balor Gargano match too. But
right.
No. As far as the feud reigniting, it's a long story, but I don't feel that this story between Ciampa and Gargano is played out yet.
Yeah,
because every time they have a match, they deliver. And I've yet to see a bad match where I go, like, this isn't Sheamus Orton volume 50, right?
Hey, Orton is killing it right now. We'll talk about that in our banter.
But obviously he's not, he's not beefing with Sheamus, right? Like,
no, Sheamus is terrible still. Still wearing that same hairdo. Anyway,
that needs a reboot, dude.
They're not rebooting him. They rebooted him by giving him his old haircut and having him pick on Shorty G.
Oh my
That's his reboot. But no, back to NXT.
Yeah, so with Gargano and Ciampa, it isn't played out because they deliver on their matches. And obviously now Ciampa is even that much more, has that much more hatred for Gargano because he took away his chance to win the title. You know,
Right.
so it was interesting when Undisputed came out during that match, everybody booed. As everybody wanted a solid match, and it was a solid match, but everybody wanted a fair match. And when Undisputed came out and it was shenanigans, everybody just was like, "This is lame! Like, no way! What a joke!" And then, of course, the nut shot, classic heel move. But then, you know, Cole jumps off the top rope, flying nothing, and then gets kicked in the nuts. And there was just a lot of back and forth, a lot of close calls. Definitely a lot of people kicked out of a lot of each other's finishers.
Over and over again.
But here's what I'll say to that, though. If it happens every pay-per-view, that's silly. That's too much, right? That's superfluous. But if it happens every, I don't know, like once a year, then okay. Like, yeah, I'm fine with that, right? Like, it can't just be an automatic, you know, you hit your finisher and then you're done. You know, it's got to be, especially if it's like for pride on the line or a title on the line and it's a big pay-per-view, I'm okay with, you know, somebody kicking out of a finisher. It isn't that much longer thereafter that, you know, the match drags on. You know, so it isn't like, you know, he hulks, like, it's like the person who kicks out of the finisher all of a sudden hulks out and, you know, takes 10 more finishers and, you know, and still wins the match or something. It's, you know, it usually draws down pretty quickly thereafter. But it was cool, though, again, because everybody gets out of their seats. Everybody's freaking out. 1, 2, you know, counting with the ref and, you know, putting their hands on their head when it's the near fall. And again, like being there live with that dynamic was electrifying.
Electrifying, like The Rock.
But I thought the match overall was really good. Adam Cole puts on a hell of a show. Guy's endurance is unreal. Ciampa was just freaking ruthless and kicking ass and taking names, and everybody was eating it up. And then even with the Gargano Finn match, let's talk about that real quick. What'd you think of that?
Oh, the Prince. The Prince is back, man. And he's like that heel that's like accepted. You know, there's heels like that where they're so liked by the fans that their faces, whether they want to be or not. I love that match. I loved all the stops pulled out, multiple Gargano escapes. Obviously Finn comes out with the win after one hell of a match. They put on a great match. I'm not sure the running time, but I was just loving everything about it. The nasty 1916 at the end, you know, just nasty. I was like, oh God, his neck is broken. And I don't know what the actual crowd reaction was. It seemed like they were loving Finn. They were loving Johnny. Johnny loses. Now Johnny's mad. So Johnny goes and turns his back on Ciampa, who he just won a tag match with at TakeOver UK. So I love everything coming out of it. I feel like Finn Balor is kind of like the Pac of NXT. It's obviously two different characters because Pac's a lot more sick in the head, well, they're both pretty sick in the head, but I just love the work of Finn Balor now in NXT. I think he's great for the brand. He's doing way better than he was doing on the main roster, which is funny to say. And I mean, I could see him in the title picture hunt again, you know, by the end of this year, you know, whether he's heel or face, you know, I'm already thinking of who will eventually dethrone Adam Cole, but Adam Cole is one of the greatest champions in NXT history. So
hands down.
Yeah. What did you think of the Gargano Finn Balor match? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like the outcome? I definitely liked it.
I thought it made Finn look really strong. I didn't think Finn was going to lose the match. And again, that just kind of puts Finn on a trajectory going forward. Who knows? Maybe Finn dethrones Cole.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that could be pretty crazy, but I think it made Finn look really good. And you know, obviously Gargano taking a loss sucks, but at the same time, now he's obviously shifted gears and, you know, maybe he's taking his anger out on Ciampa.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what I think they're going to tell. I don't know. I'm going to more than likely watch NXT tonight or tomorrow after we get done just to see the fallout, because we have a fallout from a standalone NXT pay-per-view. So there's a lot of explaining to do. And we could see some cool stuff, you know? So I'm excited.
Heck yeah.
You know, and I don't mind a Ciampa Gargano 3 because I don't feel like you can ever really finish feuds. Like I could always see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn fight again. fight forever. Gargano Ciampa, fight forever. You know, so yeah, I think there's a lot of good that came out of this pay-per-view overall. Charlotte Flair being in NXT, like, I don't feel like she's going down. I feel like she's just, you know, trying to dominate every brand now. That's the way I look at it. I don't know what's going to happen at WrestleMania. I don't know if she's going to win again. I'm not sure, but I'm stoked for it because Rhea Ripley's a formidable opponent. Rhea Ripley's no small slouch. She's a great wrestler. Mm-hmm. She won her match against Belair. That was a good match too, you know, so I think NXT just hits it on every cylinder, you know, even though they lose to AEW in the rankings every week. I think that the two shows are pretty equal, right? Like,
sure,
there's things I like about both of them. So, yeah,
I can see that. I like both products. You know, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing on AEW. Obviously, I'm a huge NXT fan, so that's important too. But yeah, man, I'm loving both those products. But specifically with WWE, definitely I'm enjoying NXT over SmackDown and over Raw because I like that intimacy. A buddy of mine was asking, like, well, you know, he's just making a comment. It wasn't really asking a question, but just making the comment of, yeah, like SmackDown and Raw are like really polished, and there's like a certain flavor to it, but NXT just seems more rigid and more raw. And I absolutely, you know, what I noticed is even at Full Sail in Florida, they make their soundstage look like an arena. You know, it has that banner that splits, you know, that would split the levels. And, you know, so you get that intimacy, you get the closeness, you know, and I think they let their talent kind of take over a little bit more, you know, versus polishing them so shiny that they, you know, it isn't really them.
No, the thing I try to watch for in Raw and SmackDown is more so the actual matches. You know, I don't watch Raw and SmackDown. Like, I record it every single week. I try to go back and watch it through. You know, I don't hate the product, but I don't like love the product. I don't know. I mean, I think there's, like you said, NXT is more rigid. You can feel it much more, you know, and SmackDown and Raw are just super polished. That's the so-called cream of the crop. That's the top of the food chain, in wrestling, so to speak, to some extent, even though I feel like AEW is making ground or making strides. And I think NXT is making strides on its own brand because, it's making it more competitive now, right? We've said for weeks that we feel like NXT puts out a better product than Raw and SmackDown do. I don't know if anyone agrees with us or not, but I highly believe that a lot of people would agree with us just because the storylines seem cooler. You know, there's funny ones on SmackDown, you know, what's her name? Mandy Rose and Otis, or that's funny, whatever.
Yeah.
Raw, you got a formidable opponent for Brock Lesnar with Drew McIntyre, which I really hope that he destroys Lesnar. You know, and then there's good matches that happen. You might catch Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo, which is a heck of a match, even though Andrade's on the shelf right now. You know, the storyline with Randy Orton and Matt Hardy, or I guess Randy Orton is the storyline, and then the victims of his ruthlessness, I think it's cool. But I've always liked Randy Orton, whereas you guys have not. So that's just my biased opinion. So yeah. Yeah, I'm loving NXT, dude. I'm thinking they're doing just big things. They're gonna have a takeover at WrestleMania, so and that's still 2 pay-per-views away. I think there's a show in Saudi, and then there's definitely an Elimination Chamber, or maybe
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, there's I'm definitely excited to see what happens, you know, over the next long while, or next little while, I should say, for the road to WrestleMania, especially around the NXT realm. Really cool that NXT is going to be, you know, more present at Mania, especially if they want that to be kind of its own standalone brand, no longer a developmental, but its own thing, which I'm totally down for. And for them to get the showcase like that's really rad. I'm hoping that NXT, I hope they do more events here in Portland, especially around NXT, because I think that the crowd was good. It was good reception. It looked sold out. I don't know if it was, but I mean, it was definitely packed, you know, especially when it started after the pre-show. Everybody filled in. But it was good. It was definitely good.
I'm trying to think. Well, I guess we covered pretty much all of TakeOver, right? Like,
that was pretty much it. Actually, real quick. It's a good little short little episode. Real quick, the one match we didn't really touch base on: Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is a force. Not to be reckoned with. Oh my gosh, man, she's so strong. She's using her hair as a weapon. She definitely kicked Rhea Ripley's ass for a little bit. But of course, Rhea got, the better of her. And, I thought that was a good back and forth. And then, of course, seeing Charlotte Flair in Portland at NXT, that was, I popped for that. That was awesome.
Right.
Yeah, it was just cool to be a witness to that. But yeah, so I'm super stoked about, again, Charlotte Flair, top of her game. To me, as you said, like, I don't see it as a demotion either or stepping down. I see it kind of as an enhancement of like, okay, obviously the best of the best is looking to take on, the champ of NXT, and how that goes down and what that fight's going to look like. I'm super excited for, but for Charlotte to be the one to do that, I think I view it as like, that's a cool step to take. I don't see that as a, demotion. I think it would, on the flip side, to me, it would almost seem like, again, Sheamus Orton syndrome. If it was like Charlotte versus Bayley, what I mean? Or Charlotte versus Becky, like Charlotte versus anybody in NXT Raw or SmackDown, that to me would seem like, okay, that's played out. But for her to sidestep and go, no, I'm going to take on the NXT champ, that to me is really rad. That's a great way to make an impact on that brand.
Right. So like it is cool to see that WWE or Charlotte herself or Rhea going to the brass and saying we should do this. So just like real fast. So the Sheamus Orton feud, I think from rumors is going to be and in the women's division is probably going to end up being Naomi and Bayley, which I don't think we've seen ever, but if that's going to be the SmackDown Women's Championship match at WrestleMania, I'm probably going to get popcorn during that match because I don't know how they're going to build that. It's in Tampa. Naomi's from Orlando or whatever, so I guess that's why she's getting it now. I don't know. She just came back and whatever. But seeing Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, it's like so different because, Charlotte has so many accolades on all the brands, and now she's going to NXT, which bumps NXT into like this realm of like, oh, well, we're not below you guys. We're right here. Shayna Baszler being in the Elimination Chamber match, which the winner of that match will face Becky Lynch at Mania. And it's a pretty decent 5 people or 6 people in that match, right? The funny thing, like one thing I will touch on real quick, I don't think you've seen this, but on WWE Network, they have Ruthless Aggression, which was the era that we basically missed as fans. But most of the documentary, so the first episode touches on the end of the Monday Night War. And I'm not talking about like the finals. I'm talking about the very end, like when Vince McMahon does the promo and Shane comes out and says he buys WCW, and how that storyline just failed because I don't know if you know, but when WCW was first acquired by WWE, all the fans were like, oh, we're going to see Hall, Nash, Hogan, blah, 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 all the big names. But most of those guys had fat contracts from TNT, so they're going to stay home and get their money. So all WWE could get was like the new up-and-comer, like Sean Stasiak, Chuck Palumbo, Mark Jindrak, these guys, they got Booker T, and I guess and Booker T was great in WWE. So you see that, and this documentary basically says that storyline fizzled out because these are guys that are just too raw, too new. That WWE is a polished brand. It's probably way more polished than WCW. And then you get to the John Cena era, and my soapbox is basically about John Cena and the origination of American cheese pizza, and how this guy, the only thing I remember about the original John Cena, and if you go back and see his footage from OVW, you might like him because he cuts some pretty sick promos, and he's a different guy. He would wear these like colorful singlet tights, and I guess when he came out and did the Ruthless Aggression thing with Kurt Angle, Vince McMahon had cut a promo on Raw where he wanted someone to have Ruthless Aggression. So then John Cena comes out and says he is Ruthless Aggression, puts on this 12-minute match, doesn't win the match. And then Ruthless Aggression, John Cena fails because I guess what John Cena would do is he would wear those tights in whatever city he was in. He would wear the sports team's tights to match the colors, but the character was terrible. Like no one liked it. It didn't have a character. So then I guess he was on this isn't a spoiler, but he was on like a bus on the European tour. He was about to get fired, actually. When this happened, he's on the bus. A bunch of people are in the back of the bus. They're freestyling. He starts freestyling. And then the Doctor of Thugonomics is born. And essentially from that, you get that Doctor of Thugonomics, this John Cena rapping character that apparently everyone loved. I didn't even know. Everyone loved that. And then the kids started loving him so much that he goes to Vince and says, all right, I can't be a rapper anymore. Because the rap was like, the Ruthless Aggression era was there, but the attitude was still there. This was before Linda McMahon, like being in the government and all that. So the raps were like kind of racy, kind of edgy. And then he stops rapping. He becomes John Cena that we know today. And like, it took a lot for him to like go from almost being fired to this. And I feel like NXT is like doing that. Like they're grabbing that ring that Vince McMahon always talks about, where they're like, we are here, we are NXT. You know, you're not going to just push us to the wayside. So that's really refreshing. And you should definitely check out Ruthless Aggression, people, if you haven't. This actually gives you a respect for someone rebranding themselves, reinventing themselves, and then just catching a blaze and taking off. Like Becky Lynch. You know what I mean? It's kind of similar.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. I definitely will. I'll definitely check that out. You know, I don't see why not. Because that was the era that, you know, I missed. I completely missed Ruthless Aggression.
Yeah.
Because there was a long while where I just wasn't watching wrestling, and then, you know, once I got back up here once I got to Portland and could afford cable TV, then I was like, oh, dude, if I can get Raw, like I'm watching, you know, freaking wrestling again, and now I remember watching it and being like, who's Zack Ryder? Like, who the heck is, you know, Jack Swagger and like Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus and like all these new dudes? Like, what is going on? And then from there, it's just obviously, you know, stuck with it. But dude, great, man. Again, jam-packed episode full of, you know, just your perspective of NXT. Being there was awesome. And then a little, you know, bringing back some nostalgia of former eras. But most importantly, though, I'm excited to see what's going to continue on with the future of NXT and WWE, even AEW. And all these other promotions that are happening. But, you know, as always, you've been listening to the Bros Before Oboes Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony. You can definitely check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Definitely hit that subscribe button on our YouTube page, and, you know, check us out on iTunes and Podbean. Share the show with a friend, and of course, interact with us on social media.
Yep. And elbow drop your friends, people. I still don't have a slogan. I stole that from Tommy. I'm a horrible person.